these damn liberals coming up in here saying stupid shit like we gonna vote fascism out, because that's not how that works. You can't vote fascism out.
I always tell people, look, these people, a lot of these people don't have heart. Like, they haven't went through a lot of things that we have
some of them don't have a brain.
Yeah, that too. Or they might have a brain, but thinking when you starting to come out that bubble, like a lot of us, and we was brainwashed by the Obamas and the Clintons and stuff like that. When we was coming out that bubble, it was kind of hard. We was kind of resistant to, like, no, it can't be. And then, some people double down, some people, you know what I'm saying, take it for what it is. But a lot of these people, when it comes to real fascism, you know what I'm saying, with this two-party system and this one big government, they scared to admit that we really gonna have to just kill some politicians. I mean, that's what it's really gonna come down to. Because we can protest and we can do this and that and blah blah. But ain't nothing gonna happen. Like, nothing really is gonna happen, man. Until somebody really, like, somebody at the top really get hurt, and then they realize, okay, yeah, they got the military, yeah, they got the National Guard and shit like that, but we are everything. We are everywhere. We are your baggers and your groceries. You know what I'm saying? We make your food at your restaurants. We are everywhere. You can't stop.
I mean, if you look at
and them, that you not stopping the fascists. What, by asking nicely to asking him to stop being a fascist?
Yeah. But you vote them out.
Yeah, that was the point I was making.
You have all this money when you're gonna have all this money and power when you get out of office. You know what I'm saying? So how can I really vote fascism out when you're gonna still have the same connections? You know what I'm saying? Because I was just telling somebody this. Like, you can vote somebody out, yes, but you can't take away their power. Not really.
Yeah.
Because they still have influence and they still have money in a lot of places and with a lot of people. So the only way you're gonna really get rid of fascism is the same way America got taken over. But gotta get rid of it. There's no other way.
Yeah. No, I mean, you make a great point. I mean, you look at someone like Paul Ryan, right? It's just who gets to be the face for the few years. It's Paul Ryan, then it's Mitch McConnell. It's just. But where's Paul Ryan right now? I don't know. Probably some lobbyist somewhere hanging around DC doing the exact same shit. He's just not the face right now. Yeah. They don't. Yeah, you don't. It's not like Paul Ryan went home and he's just chilling. Like, no, he's probably raking in millions of dollars doing lobbying for some gas company or something for Exxon or whatever. So they can dump more oil in the Gulf.
Yeah, people was laughing at me because I called out. I'm like, man, Amy McGrath was put in to lose to Mitch McConnell. Because Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer are boys, and there's no penalty for losing when you're a Democrat. When you're fighting for the establishment, there's no penalty for being wrong. You can go on CNN, you can go on MSNBC, and you can say some bullshit that get proven wrong a few years later. Like, you can push the Iraq War, you can push trickle down economics. You can be proven wrong time and time again. But if you're wrong on the position of the establishment, you will continue to fail up. Pete Buttigieg, for example, I can list these people all day long. Who failed up more than Pete Buttigieg has? Like he was a failed mayor. The whole fucking community hate him, and then all of a sudden he was part of this Stop Bernie think tank that the New York Times wrote about. And this was before he even blew up. So Pete Buttigieg was artificially created the same way that Amy McGrath has been artificially created. Because how pathetic are you as a candidate that you outspent Charles Booker 10-1, but it was that competitive? You had the Democratic establishment rigging that election every single way for you. The media giving you millions of dollars of free advertisement. All the newspapers. I mean, if you follow that election, it was literally McGrath was getting a ton of free media. She's been propped up by the outside Democratic groups, and she still almost lost. They still had to throw out ballots.
She lost. Let's be honest. She straight up lost.
I hear you.
Because not only did they shut down, they took away all the voting centers for black people because they were like, oh, they might actually show up because it's a black people. So they took away all of the voting centers for them. Then, even as he was winning, people, because I noticed people on Twitter were like, yo, what's going on? How did he just lose votes? Because people were keeping track. They were watching the vote count. He would just suddenly drop by 1,000 and she would go up by 1,000. It's like, wait a minute. We were watching the fuckery. They did the same thing to Bernie. The Democrats straight up cheated because he actually was winning. And they were like, nah, we can't have that because if he wins, he may legitimately get rid of Mitch McConnell and we don't want that. have to have our so-called resistance candidate so she can lose. Then we don't lose any power.
They know our voting numbers are high, you know what I'm saying? But they try to downplay the progressive and the young vote, saying that we don't vote, we don't show up, but they do whatever they can to suppress our votes. And Booker was going to win if he was going to face against.
You know, he would have so much momentum.
Opposition, you know. But you can't. Yeah, you can't say, oh, he's not working with Trump. I'll show you how to work with Trump. Like, what the fuck?
Like, her campaign is so dumb.
Exactly. That's exactly what they don't want. They want to work with Trump because they monetize working with Trump.
Yeah, and he make money. He make them money off that fundraising. Nancy Pelosi lead him in office. You know what I'm saying? People.
And not only just Trump, they need Mitch McConnell too, because I always tell people there's different levels of being woke. Because when you first start out, you first get in politics, the level 1 of being woke is like, damn, the Republican Party are awful. Like that's level 1, acknowledging that Republicans are bad. Level 2 is acknowledging this, damn, Democrats they're not good either. That's level 2.
Yeah.
Now level 3, you're asking, what's level 3? Level 2 is that Republicans are bad. Level 2, Democrats are bad. Now level 3 is acknowledging that they're working in tandem on teams to oppress the working class. Exactly. Because there's actually some people that will reach level 2. They'll say, man, I don't like Democrats, I don't like Republicans. But if you bring up the fact that they work on the team, they're like, oh, I don't know about that one. No, Mitch McConnell helps Democrats just as much as Trump helped Democrat, but he helps in a different way. For example, what is Chuck Schumer? What Mitch McConnell known for? Mitch McConnell known as the bill killer, and that actually helps the Democratic Party out because he blocks bills from hitting the floor, so Democrats don't get caught voting against him. So for example, if Medicare for All hit the Senate floor, you will see Joe Manchin vote against it. You will see all the Democratic senators vote against Medicare for All, and that will hurt their brand. And that's why Mitch McConnell is there to play defense to block these bills from going up, so they never hit a vote. And that actually helps Democrats too. Like, people don't realize that. That's why I think, like, once again, level 3, you gotta realize that Chuck Schumer is looking out for Mitch McConnell. That's his boy. He got there for a reason. So.
And I always think about that picture of Trump and Mitch McConnell. When they was in the White House, wherever the fuck they was at, and Trump was running, and Chuck Schumer was like, you're gonna blow it for us, some shit. I just what would he be saying? You need to calm down. Like, man, you know me, man. Come on. Oh man,
they have, and you're right. You're totally right that he's a bill blocker. That's why you get so many Democrats who are like, oh, we would have voted for Medicare for All, or we would have, but me and old Mitch McConnell, he didn't let it get to the floor.
Hey, if it went to the floor, Kamala Harris would have been exposed a long time ago. Remember when she was pretending that she supported Medicare for All, but when shit actually hits the fan, when she had to vote, Kamala Harris is always exposed when it actually comes to the vote. Like, for example, when you actually got to vote against the military budget, her ass was exposed real quick, wasn't she? So she can pretend that she signed on Medicare for All because she knew it wasn't ever going to really hit the floor for a vote in a serious faction. So that's why, like, even when Joe Biden makes
people to take pledges, she wasn't expecting people to take
the
Medicare for All pledges.
She thought we'd forget.
Everybody's like, what?
Yeah.
I would just like to point out that the Democrats resisting also started during the Obama administration. Because think about it. When Obama first came in, he had the House and the Senate. And yet still somehow couldn't pass the bills. Well, when that happens, what happens? Everybody's like, well, it's the Democrats. You guys are control of all three parts of the government, or not three, but like two parts of the government. You've got the executive and the legislative, and you're not doing anything. It's you. In order for them to be the covert narcissists they are, they're like, oh, okay, so we need to have Republicans win, so then we can blame it on them.
Yeah.
And we can say, see, Republicans aren't letting us do it when they weren't doing it themselves.
We couldn't pass the public option because the Republicans and Joe Lieberman said no.
That's why we didn't even try, and we just went straight for a Republican bill because it's all they would give us.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though they didn't try.
And I would tell people, especially when I remember when I used to canvass for Bernie, this is one of the main arguments I will make to people, and this is how I flip people to support Bernie Sanders, because just that Bernie Sanders had good policy ideas. Bernie Sanders had a path to get that done. So that's why when Joe Biden, he can say all the nice things he wants about what he may or may not support. He's not even giving us that much. But for example, if Joe Biden says he supports Medicare for all, the reason why I don't really hold that to high value, because Bernie said if he was president, when these bills hit the floor, he will put mad pressure on any Democrat or anyone really in Congress that will fight against these bills because these bills are popular. Now you had Barack Obama, you had Joe Biden, who refuses to do that. You have Elizabeth Warren, who still publicly make
they didn't even push local elections.
Yeah, she still defends Joe Manchin to this day. Like she still said, I want to make a spirited defense of Joe Manchin. When she was on TYT, she was asked about that, and she was like, "Yo, I actually defend Joe Manchin because he got a very valuable place at the Democrat Party." Now, this is the problem with liberals. You cannot be friendly with Joe Manchin because Joe Manchin is going to fight against Medicare for all. He's going to fight against the Green New Deal. He's going to fight against living wage. And Bernie Sanders was vocal, and this is why they made sure they stopped his ass, because he said that he will go to your fucking state. And remember, you got to remember historically, when presidents are first elected, they usually have high approval ratings.
Yeah,
like
very
they usually
popular.
Be around like 60-70% usually when they first elected, because they usually have that mandate. And usually for the most part, American people always want to come together after a victory. Remember, even when Trump won, you had Dave Chappelle going on the TV shows like, give Trump a chance. Like people want people to rally behind a leader. So imagine Bernie Sanders with that wave of popularity of winning, and then he said he introduced that shit within the first 100 days. And then you have a Democrat, you have Congress that's already massively unpopular by the American people. If you look at Warren Council, you look at the approval ratings. And then imagine the impact that will have if Bernie Sanders went to an unpopular senator state and campaigned against them because they was against Medicare for all. And I will literally explain to people, people were like, damn, that actually makes sense. And people will support Bernie because of that. Because I'll tell them they actually have a path towards getting this stuff done. It will be a hard fight. Even if Bernie won, it would have been a hard fight. But now, with after me explaining that, ask yourself, what Joe Biden's path to get these things done? Do you think Joe Biden's going to do that? Do you think Joe Biden is going to go to Joe Manchin in West Virginia and put pressure on him if you say no to any progressive policy?
Why are we even doing hypotheticals like Joe Biden gives a shit about progressives at all?
Joe Biden backtracked on fracking. He backtracked on fracking, bro.
What do you mean backtrack? That was part of his policy the whole time. No, he didn't backtrack. That's his thing.
He said I'll ban fracking, and then he initially said he wouldn't, then he said he would when Bernie was kind of popping, and now he doubled back on it.
All we need to know about Joe Biden is the moment Bernie said, "Okay, I'm going to suspend and I'm going to support Joe Biden," the very first piece of media that they put out, the email that they sent, was the "I am a crossed out socialist" and put like capitalist or some shit in there. That let us know, fuck you progressives. I don't give a shit about you. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to do anything. I have nothing to do with you. I don't need you. And then they immediately pivoted to the Republicans. Also, this is the same guy who on the trail, anytime you push back on him, he's like, then vote for somebody else. Okay. You told me you don't want my vote. I'm not going to give it to you.
Yeah, it was so obvious too, because the walk back, they try to make the walk back gradual, but I was being proven right as the campaign was going on, because I told people from day one, I was like, bro, I already see all the progressive leaders folding towards Biden, and people would think I was being over dramatic, because I was like, bro, Bernie, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I get you signed a contract, but stop fucking like you can follow your contract. You can do it in a way that put pressure on Biden. Believe it or not,
man, fuck that contract. Michael Bloomberg said he was going to support whoever. I ain't seen his ass since March, bro.
Bloomberg don't give a fuck about that contract.
Bloomberg disappeared. And he said, "Yo, fuck all this."
He like Bernie out. All right, I'm good. It don't matter. It don't matter who wins now.
Yeah, exactly.
Tosi endorsed Biden because she followed the contract too. But if she endorsed Biden, she hadn't said one goddamn word since then. She was like, all right, I'm going to fill the contract for that one day. I'm out. And she hadn't said anything. Like, you could put pressure on Biden and you see what they're doing now. The media is blaming. I want to see if I find that clip, because this clip pissed me off. Do you know what I'm talking about when MSNBC?
With the Latino voters?
Yeah, they started blaming Bernie Sanders. So it was like, bro, you can't win. Like no matter what you do, you're not gonna appease these spear masters, man. They're gonna hate you no matter what you do.
Blame Bernie Sanders, and then Joe Biden goes down there and plays Despacito off his phone.
I wish we could find that clip. Hold on.
You didn't. Oh god damn it. The level of pandering.
How many more weeks we got left for this shit? Because
like 8.
I want to get it over with. I'd rather hear
7.
Crying. I'd rather hear crying from liberals than pandering from the DNC, because that's just
Joe Biden's gonna lose so hard, bro. This is not even gonna be funny. He's gonna lose so hard. It might be
so
like a
hard
50-state sweep.
It's so hard to stay neutral because I've been trying to stay neutral on this shit.
Bro, he's gonna lose so hard, bro. It's not even funny.
But man, like when I see them kicking off, when I see them kicking Green,
my bad. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying, like, whenever I see them kick like Green Party candidates off the ballot, that kind of shit, and when I see this shit, I'm like, we about to play this right now because this is the spin the media is all coming out with. I mean, this shit. I was like, this is kind of stuff I'm talking about. Like, I come on Twitter and I'm like, man, I'm gonna have a good time today. But it'll be wholesome. Like we'd have wholesome Twitter. We'd have all these people say, like, it'll be nice. It'll be dope. We'd post memes. We're gonna laugh. I've come to that day thinking that shit, and then I see videos like this, and then I'm like, fuck, I'm rage tweeting again. That's how it happens. So let's see what this idiot had to say.
If I was Joe Biden and I wanted to win the state of Florida, I would not be taking Bernie Sanders' advice. Bernie Sanders is the reason why the socialist label has stuck for some voters on Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders is the reason why a lot of South Florida Hispanics in particular are afraid that the Democratic Party has moved too far to the left, why they're susceptible to this messaging from the Trump campaign that they should fear the Democratic Party. That's why Joe Biden has to reintroduce himself and tell these voters, I am a deal maker. I spent decades in the Senate trying to bring Republicans and Democrats together. I was the guy Barack Obama would send to negotiate with Mitch McConnell. I want to bring this country together. I am not a radical, and nothing in my record indicates that. That's the message that a lot of these Latino voters, people who understandably are concerned with all this talk about socialism, because they left their countries fleeing those ideas and fleeing those kinds of revolutions. So they need to hear from Joe Biden. They need to know who he is. And when it comes to South Florida Hispanics, at least, if I was Joe Biden, I would not be taking Senator Sanders' advice.
Y'all really want me to like flip tables and shit, right? Because that's how you get riots started. This is
I went to make Jackie mad. That's literally why I played that clip. I wanted to get Jackie fired up.
That's not even
Jackie, please. Jackie, go in, please.
You're wrong.
Go in, Jackie.
I can. First of all, the real reason why people have this issue with socialism is because of propaganda. People don't know what socialism means. They think it's dictatorial or authoritarian communism. It's not the same thing. I literally know people who come from dictatorial communist countries, and they think like, oh, we can't have socialism. First of all, your country was never socialist. So why do you assume it's the same thing? Second of all, authoritarianism is not the same thing as these systems. Like they're confusing these terms. It's our education system is abhorrent because people just genuinely, these are basic terms that you can fucking look up, and people are confusing this shit. And it's because the mainstream media keeps doing shit like this.
See, this is why I had to set Jackie off.
Jackie, just vote out the fascists, please. Jackie, just vote out the fascists.
You know what?
It's all right. Go ahead, bro.
Tell him, Ron.
Bernie is the reason why Biden is having a hard time with Latinos, but it's not because of the socialist tag, because Bernie was leading with Latino.
Exactly. I was just about to bring that up. You remember during the
so it's not the socialist thing. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has something to do with the policies that they know that we need, like Medicare for all, Green New Deal, shit like that.
Yeah.
That, again, they are fleeing their cities and their countries for, they're going through
for opportunity.
Not only that, and they're going through wars that some of our governments are funding.
Exactly.
I don't know if you guys remember, but the lead up before the Florida primary. Do you guys remember when the media was trying to manufacture consent that Bernie was going to do bad with Cuban voters? And they were saying this over and over again. And it was to the point where it was obvious to me. I'm like, okay, so they reporting this because they want to manufacture that result. And
that's what they've been doing the whole time. That's exactly what they're doing with that clip. They're manufacturing consent because they see that Biden cannot win with Latinos in Florida. And so they're like, we're going to preemptively blame this on Bernie.
Yeah. And they do that.
So that when it's over, you're going to believe that it was Bernie that hurt him. When I don't know, maybe it's the fact that he fucking deported like a majority of the Mexican immigrants while he was VP. And anytime you ask him about that, he tells you to vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah,
when people say, hey, are you going to continue that policy that Barack Obama had? Because you keep hitching your wagon to Barack Obama, acting like it was both of you, like y'all were twins. So are you going to continue that policy? And his response is, go vote for Trump. Maybe it's that. Maybe Joe Biden is the reason why people aren't voting for Joe Biden. Did anybody ever think of that?
You would never hear that. And I mean, it's obvious to us, right? It's obvious to anyone who pays attention why Joe Biden struggled with Latino voters. But just like before the primary, like I was saying before, how they was manufacturing the consent hard that Bernie was going to do bad with Cuban voters. But if you look at the primary, Bernie edged out Biden with Cuban voters despite losing the state. I mean, he lost the state by a decent amount. Well, lost, I should say. Lost with lost, you know what I mean?
Yeah, fraudulently lost.
Even with the fraudulent activity, Bernie still won the Cuban vote. Even with them manufacturing consent and running hit piece, they were running constant hit piece. It was a coordinated attack against Bernie to try and make him lose the Cuban vote, and he still won it. And guess what he doesn't mention in that clip there? That MSNBC clip we just watched.
What?
He didn't mention the fact that Bernie won the Latino vote. That's not an accident.
All you have to do is think about like Nevada. Like, how did Bernie win Nevada so fiercely? Because majority the Latino vote. And you know how? So then here's the question. Well, how did Bernie win the Latino vote? Well, there are two strategies, two key parts to their strategy. Number one, they actually went and talked to him. Yeah. Weird thing, I know, but they actually went to their neighborhoods and were like, "Hey,
Biden not even trying.
We're going to talk to you." The second thing is the fucking policies. It's all about the policies that Joe Biden doesn't have because Joe Biden is a Republican.
So Bernie Sanders was the first major candidate that supported abolish ICE, and he destroyed with Latinos. And people think that's a coincidence.
Exactly.
Like you think that you got Latino voters calling Bernie Sanders T.O. Bernie because he looks fly? You think he got the look? Do you think that he's charismatic?
He's real suave.
Do you think he won them with like some sort of salsa dams? No, it's the policies. Like they don't care.
Exactly.
Like Bernie Sanders is an old white Jewish guy, but he had people of color. He had Latino voters. He had Palestinians. He had the vast majority of the Muslim vote. He had all these people of all these different backgrounds that was supporting him. And then they want to blame it on Bernie when Joe Biden not doing the same. When Joe Biden is running this failed campaign strategy of going after white Republican voters, even though white Republican voters always said, "Fuck you, I don't want you." Like he had 5%. Like how many times do you had to have the same voter base tell you "fuck you"? They told you "fuck you" during the whole time he was vice president. When Barack Obama and Joe Biden lost 1,200 seats, the Republican voters you guys were chasing was saying "fuck you" the whole time. And you guys
they don't like you, bro.
Strategy. They'd rather go after their vote than go after the people of color. They open about the fact they're not even going after the Latino vote. You know why? Because they want Becky. They want
going after the Latino vote, and you're mad that you're not winning it. You know, and
they're pulling 80s policies, which is like, oh, you want blacks? Play a black song. You want Latinos? Play a Latino song. That's literally what we're going to do. We're not going to give you policies. We're gonna pander to you.
I just said that on one of my shows, recording for one of my shows. I just fucking said that. I said, these people are so out of touch that they are doing the same politics with us that they doing with our parents, that they did with our parents. And they don't think that we see this. And they think that we should just fall for Nancy Pelosi kneeling and fucking Hillary Clinton carrying your house sauce in her damn bag. I know. Bitch, stop playing. No, man. Salt is way too spicy for you. Stop playing.
They think Kamala Harris wearing Tim's is enough to win the black vote.
Don't you play that clip, man. Don't play that clip.
Listen,
I'm trying to piss Jackie off. That's what I'm trying to do. Because remember I told you they have a very particular campaign strategy. They're not going after our votes. They're going after Karen's votes. They're going after the upper class white vote. This is the vote that they are going after. And you see,
you about to make me destroy all the furniture I have in my little bitty room.
You see how MSNBC went insane the second he hinted toward a halfway populist campaign.
Exactly.
Let's get mad today.
His campaign is Scranton versus Park Avenue. Why is he going with this divide and conquer approach? That's Trump's thing. What about a message for all Americans? I don't live on Park Avenue, but I live pretty close to it. And you know how I got there? Working my butt off.
Working my butt off. Definitely not my connect.
Michael, Joe Biden said yes.
Definitely not my connect.
Yeah, definitely not the fact that I'm like a rich white woman. That has nothing to do with it. Yeah.
She is offended at the idea that Joe Biden was campaigning towards everyday working people. She calls that divisive.
Which he doesn't even do. He doesn't even fucking do it. He don't poor people. He's been rich most of his life.
He threw working class people a bone, and they got mad. He was like, "Hey, I see that you exist." Basically,
His Scranton versus
he hit us with the bone. That's the closest thing he's done to even see. I can't.
And Joe Biden leaned into this shit like it wasn't trash. Like he was like, yo, this is Scranton versus wherever he said it was fucking stupid. Like,
Park Avenue.
Versus Park Avenue. I was like, bro, this is not even clever for one, and that's not populist.
Yeah, no,
secondly,
it's not.
Like I will fight anyone who said that's actually populist, but I honestly think they were doing the job, man. I think they actually ran a sketch on us, man, because I think MSNBC knows that bad, so she's trying to make it seem like Joe Biden's more populist than he is, but because there's no way you can actually watch his campaign and think, yeah, that's a campaign for the working class people.
She actually did start it out. She started it out properly when she was like, why is Joe Biden acting like Trump? That should have been the real question. Because Joe Biden is Trump.
The same thing.
It's the same thing. It's Coke or Pepsi. Yeah. They're all sugary. They're all bad for you. You should, in a situation where you should be drinking water, we're comparing Coca-Cola versus Pepsi.
And like I said, Joe Biden got his own media empire just like Trump. Because whenever he goes on, and whenever Trump will go on Fox News, it should be softball question to softball question. And I was watching Biden's town hall yesterday, and people were like, "Man, how you put yourself through this shit?" Man, I was bored, and I was going to see what
you actually watched it.
No, I didn't finish. I rage quit. Like I've seen like some of the clips. It's like, man, like it was softball question after softball question for Joe Biden, and then
how many racist things did he say? Because when he talks, you got about 5 minutes for some racist slips out, and it's usually against black people. He hates us specifically.
They got to keep it short.
Yeah, I mean it was they cut it off at a weird time. They how it usually ends at like an even number, like it end at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock. They cut it off at like 9:13, and then everyone was like, "What? Like why was
his medication was wearing off?"
Like they was like, "Oh shit, Joe Biden's them."
Wait, they cut it off early?
Yeah, dude. Like they try to play it off, but when have you ever watched a town hall where it ends at like an awkward time? Like it ended like 9:13. like. I don't think that was planned.
They knew the cocktail they give him was wearing off, and they were like, "He's about to say racism in about 20 seconds. We got to cut the shit off."
He's about to say the N-word.
He was hyped up at first, and then you can see his stamina started to fade, and then he's like, it ended suddenly. And I heard that after the fact because I rage quit it, and I rage quit it like shortly after it ended. I started watching it like 9:05. And then someone said in at 9:13, I'm like, well, that was weird. Like someone like, bro, I heard people on Twitter, it was like, did they just end this shit like super early? Did they just cut it off? It almost like someone in the Biden campaign team was like, stop, cut it.
and then just with the commentary, it was just like, oh, that was a great town hall by Joe Biden. He looked very presidential, just incredibly professional. Just
that's something that really pisses me off. After every presidential thing, like not necessarily like for the president, but during the election, after any one of these guys talk, they essentially rewrite what they said. They tell you like, okay, these are the words he used, but here's what he actually said. They are attempting to manufacture consent at every single turn.
Yeah,
they've been doing this ever since the beginning of the primary. So like they would use it against Bernie. They would be like, "Well, I know Bernie said that he wanted to give healthcare to everybody, but what he really said he's going to take away your individual healthcare. Your choices are going to be lost if you vote for this guy."
That remind me of when that lady had that little question for Bernie. It was about race, about blacks and Latinos or something. He was like, first of all, we need Medicare and blah blah. You know, it's kind of sales speech. She's like, I'm talking about Black Americans or whatever the fuck. I forgot what the fuck.
I think that was climate change. Was it during one of the debates?
Oh, climate change, yeah.
Yeah, she was asking about climate change, and if she had listened, he was actually answering her question. Because what he was saying was blacks and Latinos are disproportionately affected.
Yeah, people was roasting Bill O'Reilly today, and I'm always down to roast Bill O'Reilly. I'm always down for that.
Yeah.
Because Bill essentially said the town hall with Joe Biden was super shady because it seemed like Joe Biden was given the questions beforehand, and liberals went after them. They ratioed him pretty hard because they were like, "Oh, you pushing conspiracy theories? How dare you?"
It's not a conspiracy.
And they were like,
it's
Trump
does. Y'all just did it 4 years ago.
Bro, they literally was caught doing this. And then if you watched it, it was shady, bro. If you people I get Bill O'Reilly, fuck Bill O'Reilly, but people was shooting the messenger.
Oh, yeah,
I was watching the town hall, and I was like, bro, this shit seems shady because there was a lady that was talking to her. Imagine you get to ask Joe Biden anything you want, and she asked him about Russiagate. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's a
the questions were handed to them.
Like, no one's. I don't know anyone. And it was a black lady. Like, she was like maybe in her 30s. She was like, there's a working class black lady. She's a Democrat. She got a question for you, Joe Biden. She was like, "Whoa, Joe Biden, what are you gonna do about Vladimir Putin? Are you gonna be tough on him? And how are you gonna make sure our elections?" Like, it was like, bro. And when this question was asked, like, bro, no one, bro, literally no one will ask him that question. Like, no, you cannot convince me. That wasn't a planned question.
In the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of all these protests, this black lady is concerned about Russiagate. All right.
I still don't understand why people like in real life actually accept this Russiagate bullshit. Because I'm like, you're watching the Democrats and Republicans attempt to rig the election themselves in real time, and you're going, but Russia. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Not just watching it, cheering it. Not just watching it, cheering it.
I told you,
they're like, oh yeah, get those greens off the ballot.
They was hyped about that. But that's why I watch the town hall.
Russia.
Oh yeah.
I don't give a fuck. What y'all look, man,
get their eyes wrong.
Voting for Trump and voting for Joe is the same thing in my eye.
Yeah.
In my eye. Yep. It's the same fucking thing. So I don't really say shit to lefties when they say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to vote for Joe because whatever the fuck they stub speech is." I don't really say shit, but don't come to me. You know what I'm saying? Talking about how much the nigga is better or whatever. Look, I will vote for Trump just to spite you. You know what I'm saying? Look, I've been living through hell all of my life. You know, I mean, I'm coming up and shit, but nigga, don't get fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I remember you made a good point. I think it was one of your videos where you was like, man, I think it was you. You was like, man, people act like it'd be end of our country like Trump. It's like, bro, black people been through worse shit than Trump.
Exactly.
Like, we've been through all this shit. Trump is nothing. Trump is just another bump in the road.
Like, exactly.
Yeah, honestly, to me, it's more egregious to vote for Joe Biden because again, I know this is weird. This is why everybody hates burners because we have that like policy lens that we look at everything through. And if you look at things from policy, again, tell me 3 bills that Trump has put through that specifically hurt black people. Not class, but 3 specifically hurt black people. Meanwhile, stop at 3 for Biden. Try to end it at 3. Think of the 3 most important. The number 1 one I can think of is the crime bill.
I think of the 3 ones that didn't hurt, that hurt the least. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was shocked because when I watched the town hall, Anderson Cooper brought this up. Anderson Cooper was doing like the bare minimum pushback questions, but it was actually better than I'm used to. He asked Biden on one of the follow-ups. He said, Mike Pence and Donald Trump passed criminal justice reform, but you was known for the crime bill. So how can you convince voters to go for you when Trump passed criminal justice when you didn't under Obama? When they asked him that question, I was like, oh shit, son. And Joe Biden, in classic Trump fashion, lied. He said, well, actually, we did do criminal justice reform under Barack Obama. I support all of them.
Yeah, we put all the black people in jail.
He literally gave this most bullshit answer.
Reform.
I wish I can find it. I'm gonna look for it. Hope I can find it. It literally the most bullshit lying answer. He was like, "Yeah, I actually support all the policies. I don't think we should lock people up. Meanwhile, I still support locking people up for marijuana." Like, it was literally, and then he pivoted. He started talking about his personal life again. Like, what he does when you don't want to answer.
Start talking about corn pop.
Yeah, it was like, bro, he had literally no
answer. Did he mention his son who was a crack
I want people to find it so I don't misrepresent it. But I remember seeing that. I was like, dude, Anderson Cooper wasn't even trying, and he destroyed you. Like, he asked the most basic, like, that was like the most basic question. That was like, imagine what you would ask Joe Biden. Like, what would you guys ask Biden if you had any questions?
Get straight kicked the hell out. They would see me coming and be like, "Don't let her find it."
Cause it's awful.
Like, they would rather have Nina Turner in next week.
Oh, we gotta do some sort of reaction to that.
Bro,
I don't know what we're gonna do yet, but I gotta do some sort of post show.
The debates are gonna be.
It's gonna be a shit show.
Like, how are we less than 8 weeks away from the election? Haven't had a single debate. Now, don't try to say COVID because we've been doing shit through Zoom the whole time. So don't even try that shit. It is not because of COVID. You can set up a mic, especially since the president's been sitting here every day going, "Nah, Joe, let's take a drug test. Go ahead and do it." Now, granted, I probably wouldn't pass that drug test either, but it's the fact that he put it on our minds.
I believe Trump is clean from smoking. He probably don't drink, but he snorts some shit. He snorts.
Yeah.
But,
he's saying he's probably locked up on Adderall.
They piss that shit out. It's not even in your system, you know.
He's like on speed or something, isn't it? I want to find the other clip. Like I said, I'm playing you guys through shit today.
I think that video that everyone's been sharing, that white girl screaming in their car, I think that's really like the culmination though of how much of manufactured consent, like what Jackie was talking about, right? Like, this is someone who's so bought in that she's yelling at people for not wanting to vote for it in a clearly flawed candidate. You know what I'm saying? That Trump. No, it's real.
She was dead serious.
It's real.
And
she was dead serious.
That girl is only about 20 years old. She don't know what the fuck she talking.
Yeah, bro. But that's what I'm saying.
When you're not sound like Kamala.
And my point, I remember I quote tweeted and it did pretty well. I was like, and the same argument I made to all the white liberals. I bet you she don't know anything about Joe Biden's past. She don't know anything about the crime bill. She don't care about the hidden cages Obama started. She don't care about the Muslims Obama and Biden bombed. She don't care about Flint, Michigan. She don't care about none of that shit. No. And like we dragged her. Like, that was like one of the worst videos I've seen. I'm not even like, I'm trying to pick Jackie off today, but I'm not even sure I want to.
Go for it. That's not even right, man.
I'm not even sure I'm gonna even. But I don't know if I want to go that far though. I don't think we're gonna go that far today. Cause I'm gonna let's see. Cause this is from the town hall, and this was already bad. No, cause this shows exactly like the kind of performance that Cooper was putting on, because you don't see. I'm not trying to give him too much props, but you don't see this as often. And I could have asked harder follow-up questions. We all could have, but it's more than I usually seen. And Joe Biden was melting down at just the basics. Let's check this out here real quick. This on the fracking.
It sounds like to some you're trying to have it both ways. That I mean, politically, it's understandable why you might say that, but if fracking contributes to climate change, and climate change is an existential threat, why should fracking continue at all?
Well, fracking has to continue because we need a transition. We're going to get to net zero emissions by 2050.
That's too late, bro.
Scientists said we have to be 35. He'll be wrong by then. He doesn't give a fuck.
Rationale.
I'm gonna back up a little bit, but bro, hold up. This man said we
2050, bro.
He said we didn't keep fracking.
What he just said was, I'm gonna make sure that by the time the change happens, I'll be long dead and won't give a holy fuck.
Yeah, he already know, because like this is the same problem I have when I did my podcast with Katie earlier this week. I be trying to watch these videos, but they be pissing me off so much because he already said so much bullshit in like 30 seconds. Like, how does continuing fracking is a transition toward fighting climate change? Like, how does that make sense at face value? like if even if you don't know that much about
the immediate follow-up question is: did your fossil fuel donors tell you to say that?
Yeah, he has decent follow, but not anywhere near what we would say. Like, he was being casual. Like, he was doing like what he think it should be the bare minimum, but he was still being very nice. But you just seen the clip. Even with him being nice halfway doing the job, he was still destroying him, and he had to pull back. Like, there's a lot of times when he was like, "Oh, God damn it, Biden, you actually can't answer that," and he would like pull back. Let's see if we can get through the rest of the
Why should fracking continue at all?
Well, fracking has to continue because we need a transition. We're going to get to net zero emissions by 2050.
I think
we'll get to
net zero.
I think my shit.
Okay,
we update. Now y'all back.
You know what happened? That's karma for trying to piss me off this whole time. That's what happened.
I knew I wouldn't get away with it.
Dude was like, we're not gonna let you do that to her.
So let's move on a little bit here.
Zero power emissions by 2035. But there's no rationale to eliminate right now fracking. Number one. Number two.
What?
I'll be right back. Keep going.
Go ahead, bro.
A IBW worker, or whether it's an iron worker or the steel worker. What I'm proposing is that, when Trump thinks about global warming, he thinks hoax. When I hear global warming, I think jobs. What I'm going to make sure we do is we can transition in a way. For example, we're going to build 500. The reason why all these unions have endorsed me is that they know my position, that I'm going to make sure that we have 500,000 charging stations on our highways so we can own the electric car market, creating 1 million jobs, and we can lead the world in Detroit. We can lead the world in making sure we move to electric vehicles. As President of the United States, I'll have one of the largest fleets. We spend $600 billion a year, federal money, for federal contracts. I'm going to make sure they're all those contracts.
Not even that long of a video.
Products made in America, including the chain that provides for every one of those products. I'm going to do away with the tax break that the president gave people who send jobs abroad to make.
You notice?
How much longer is this clip?
I stopped it halfway there. You notice how he said he was going to reverse Trump's tax break for the rich, period? You notice how he just said, we're going to stop Trump's tax break against those who shipping jobs overseas. And I'm like, bro, that sentence is like 6 or 7 words way too long. You could literally just say, we're going to reverse Trump's tax break. Period. It's period. End of story. And get rid of Trump's tax break.
I'm literally self-soothing right now. Because I'm trying to stay calm.
I had to put you to shit
and collected. More so than the climate will, because we're all going to die soon. Okay, so.
You know I had to put you to shit.
All right, I'm back.
Started out by saying.
We made it 2 minutes in.
Oh, God. Before Jackie, her head exploded.
No, I wouldn't say that we made it 2 minutes in. I would say he played 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I have been rocking back and forth self-soothing for about 1 minute and 45 seconds.
I can only watch this with this in the background when I actually got to watch it. Because I remember when I was watching it last night, I just had it in the background. And I was like, I don't have nothing else to listen to. I might as well just have it in the background. And I was still raging. I was literally watching this. I was like 2 minutes. And I'm like, ugh. There's so much bullshit in this. Because there's so much bullshit. Because
Jackie is such a talented ranter. I love it. Jackie is such a talented ranter.
That's my goal, was to piss her off, and I think I may have went too far. I didn't even play.
Y'all being stereotypical right now with the mad black woman thing. Okay, just throwing that out there.
I complimented you on your ranting ability. That's to be what's articulate and concise and strong.
Thank you, Joe Biden. A black woman is articulate.
Listen. Hold up. What do black women like? Should I play some R. Kelly? Will that calm you? Will that soothe you down? Hold up.
I'm glad I don't know where you live. I'd walk up, slap the shit out of you.
Hold up.
Okay.
Hold up, Jackie. You hear that?
First of all, I don't even like rap music, or I don't even know. Wait, was that R. Kelly?
Yeah.
Why would I like R. Kelly? He abused women. What the hell's wrong with you? Okay.
All right, breathe.
You're only gonna piss me off with one thing at a time.
We only got that
thing.
All right, let's see if we can finish. Okay? I was showing Nick this because Nick left because There's a point I made on Twitter. Because
you're not gonna play that back again, man.
Products. I'm going to do away with the tax break that the president gave people.
Oh, let me watch the stream. There you go.
Jobs abroad to make sure.
You know what he said there, Nick?
Have a contract.
I'm not pointing this out because like Democrats be low key telling on themselves. Because he was like, I'm gonna end the tax break for corporations that ship jobs overseas. And I'm like, bro, that sentence is like 5-6 words too long. Like you should just say, I'm gonna reverse the Trump's tax breaks. Period. He never committed towards ending the tax break for the rich. Because there was a story that just came out how they said the Democrats won't commit towards reversing Trump's tax cuts.
Because they're not going to, because they
make too much money. Yeah, they make too much money. They're not gonna do anything.
And that's the ratchet effect. Let's see how much more we can take, and then I don't know.
Let's see.
This is only a 5-minute video.
You must use American products. You must buy American products, and you must not be in a position where you're exporting.
Hit pause. All
right, I got you.
More.
Remember when we were talking about? Shut up, Nick. We were talking about Trump, or not Trump, but Biden being a dinosaur. Okay, y'all might not be old enough to remember this, but in the 80s, there was this big push, buy American. It was like the whole American exceptionalism thing, right? So essentially what he's doing is he's leaning into the Republican talking points of the 80s. That is his plan as a Democrat in 2020 is to be a 1980s Republican. He is essentially Reagan.
Yeah, well, that's what he knows worked. Yeah, being a 1980s Republican is what's in right now. I mean, Donald Trump ran on the same thing, so it's just who's trying to be a better version of Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon. He's like, who can be a better combo, you know?
I'm not okay. I'm not okay.
The reason I pointed that out is like, bro, they keep telling on themselves. Like, this is the story I saw before, and it came on the 15th. Democrats back away from quick reversal of Trump's tax cuts.
No, they're not. They're not going to.
Yeah. That's what they call the ratchet effect, ladies and gentlemen.
They back away from quick reversal. They back away from reversal. They back away from reversal. Basically, they're going to keep them because they benefit from them.
Absolutely.
And we've seen this before.
We have to. I mean, we have to keep the economy running. You know, we can't. They've bought into trickle down economics at this point. They're not.
Which again is Reaganomics. It's weird. It's like I in the time machine from Back to the Future style, and I can't get out of 1988. I want to get out of 1988, but I'm stuck in 1988. Doc, help me get out of 1988.
Jackie, I'm gonna get you like a Reagan Bush like 88 shirt or sweater or something like that. I feel like that's very much where you're at right now. You know.
So this is like not even new either. And there's another point I was making because when
I'm not funny.
When Bush passed his tax cuts for the rich, Barack Obama with a supermajority, he didn't have to do this, but because there was a sunset clause that was on the tax cuts, he could literally let it expire and not do anything. Expire naturally.
Just like the Patriot Act.
And he actually did it without any pressure, without any. He had a supermajority in Congress and in the House and Senate. I mean, he had a political will. No one wanted to continue that, but he continued anyway. And we were literally seeing the same thing.
Why didn't we know about that? Why wasn't it all over the news? Because it was a Democrat that did it.
Defense.
Exactly.
And Michelle Obama delusional.
Because the manufactured consent.
She was delusional. Remember when Michelle Obama was like, I wish we could got away with the stuff that Trump got away with when we was president. Like, motherfucking Trump wishes he had to pass on. Like the media apparatus for both parties work very similar. So you have CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post, New York Times. They do defense for the Democratic Party and do propaganda for them. And then the right wing have a giant multimedia apparatus that dominates the Midwest, the South, that consists of Fox News and a lot of radio hosts and advertising. So whenever you hear people complain about stuff like there's a liberal slant on the news, they talking about the neoliberal bias of CNN, MSNBC.
Yeah.
But there's actually, if you look at what cable hosts actually get the highest ratings, Fox News dominates them.
Yeah.
And then you look at the radio shows with the highest ratings. I mean, I guess podcasts change the game. But if you look at Ben Shapiro, if you look at the Daily Wire.
Oh,
if you
yeah.
look at it, those right-wing
even back in like the 90s, the number one talk show, because like before podcasts,
Rush
they were
Limbaugh,
essentially podcasts,
Yeah.
but they were on talk
Rush
radio.
Limbaugh
It
was
Rush Limbaugh.
Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
He was 90s version of Ben Shapiro. And then there's going to be a 2030s version of Ben Shapiro. Like these people usually only last about 10 to 15 years or so, or whatever.
What's his name? Charlie Kirk. That'll be the next one.
So like you have
to know if Charlie Kirk is suave enough to carry on. He's trying. He's not.
I'll go after both sides with
his head's too big and his face is too small. That's the problem.
Yeah, because so you have people on the right complaining about media bias, and you have I don't want to say the left, the centrist Democrats who complain about it, but it's the same thing. Like they both have teams, and they both played as team. And that what happened with Obama. You had his team who refused to report on the fact that he could let the tax cuts continue. And I bet you, once again, one of the things that Karen we were talking about, and a lot of people that watch MSNBC, I bet you they don't know about this. I bet you they do not know about the story, because even though the story's in the Hill, you're not going to see MSNBC run a cover story on it. You're not going to see CNN talk about it. And then they're going to release a story, and then there's not going to be any follow-up. There's not going to be any lesson learned from it. You're not going to hear anyone on NBC even bring it up. But this is relevant, because what the lesser of two evils? Democrats is the ratchet effect. They literally come in and they keep all Republican reforms while continuing their own and setting their own precedents, because Barack Obama and Joe Biden set their own precedents when it comes to immigration and bombings and all that stuff. Then Trump just ratcheted it up. But once again, it's a giant game. It's a big game. Yeah. And I can look into this article now. They suggested they could move quickly on this issue, but now they say they are likely to delay standalone tax legislation if Democratic nominee Joe Biden is elected president and their party controls the House and the Senate. So, they're not even saying just in case we lose, we're not going to do this. They're literally saying that even if we want to have a supermajority in the House and the Senate, they're still not going to reverse it. Tell me why.
Well, because they control the media apparatus and they know they don't need to, because none of that reporting will happen, and also because like, again, if you're someone who watches the mainstream media, whether you're watching Fox News or you're watching MSNBC, what you're involved in is not a class war. What you're involved in is a culture war, right? You're involved in whether or not you're a rural conservative or you're a coastal elite, or and how you perceive the other people and how they perceive you, right? And so that's what, like, our politics now. It's a cultural team game, right? It's no longer about like, hey, I need help, and that's what pissed like leftists off, is because we're sitting here like, hey, people need healthcare. Hey, we need to stop the environmental catastrophe that's currently happening. We need workers' rights. We need public education. These are things that we need. Things that most Americans would agree with, right? Exactly. But instead of focusing on things that 80% of the country would agree with, we're focused on, Trump supporters are dumb, or coastal elites are arrogant. You know, that's how the media comes off.
Because they benefit from our arrogance and us being misinformed. You know, they benefit off these prison systems, all these fucking systems that they put in place. This is why they vote for them. And then you'll look up, who got stocks and what. The same people that get the vote, get to have money in this shit. And it's not fair, because it's basically like, nigga, he's setting up the board. He's setting up the board for us to lose. This is why they vote. This is why Democrats paint themselves blue and pass the most horrible bills, because they can get away with it, because their base is so stupid. And
you can literally,
even though, like, like, I'm not gonna say they're stupid to, like, they can't think on their own and move and work. No, of course they can do that. But they stupid when it comes to politics. They have no real political compass. They just do what the TV tells them to do, and that's that.
Yeah, you saw like the MSNBC clip I played earlier today. And you wonder how liberals get the opinion they get, and how they can be so out of touch with the working class. Imagine watching that level of MSNBC. For example, that guy who said that Bernie was losing because of the Hispanic vote. Imagine someone
Biden was losing because of Bernie.
That's what I meant. Yeah. So imagine someone who get a daily diet of that shit every day.
Oh yeah,
it's funny because I literally see.
I have to imagine it's literally my father and my brother. That's why I started a podcast because I was like,
it's funny because whenever I
talking to them for like a couple hours, I was like, no, somebody's got to tell people.
Yeah,
it's funny because you can always spot the audience of some. You can always tell when someone watches.
Well, you can hear that you hear them repeat. All they're doing is regurgitating information.
That's why I put myself through hell sometimes because like I said, I always tell people I'm a political nerd. I'm not cool or anything. I watch these clips because I always want to kind of see what the opposition is coming from. So I would see like the talking points MSNBC is putting out there. I would see what the Washington Post coming at, and then I would see liberals literally repeat in regards. I would see the same thing. I'm like, bro. I'll see people timeline. I would see them retweeting Project Lincoln. I would see them retweeting Matt. I would see them retweeting Bill Kristol. All these war criminal motherfuckers. And then I'm like, how are you to pretend? Like a lot of people are like, oh, you some sort of you guys. I mean, I get accused of this every day. They're like, man, you're some sort of secret Trump supporter. You're a secret Russian. You're a secret Republican. It's like, bro, you are closer to the Republican Party than I am. Like you guys are praising John McCain. You guys are praising George Bush. You guys are welcoming these Republicans to speak at your national convention. But you guys think I'm the Republican plant? My criticism of Joe Biden and Democratic Party is they are like the Republican Party. And they are unapologetically trying to make that a thing. They literally bragging the fact that they have Republican support. And what that doesn't exist.
The 5%. The 5%.
Yeah, that's what they chasing.
And I think like if you kind of back to the conversation about mainstream media, but did you guys see that clip of Cornel West on Tucker Carlson?
Oh yeah, I want to talk about that too.
Jackie, did you see that?
I saw a quick clip of it. I saw basically Cornel talking and him saying not Cornell, but I saw Cornell talking, and then I saw Tucker saying, "Well, if that's the policy, I can get on board with that."
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's
here, guys.
Yeah, and this is what happens. It is, and this is what happens when you're speaking again, not to culture war, but to material interests and to what people actually need. You know, like if you're talking about, very few people are going to think, oh, we don't need unions other than like weird fucking bootlickers, or people think that we don't need healthcare other than like weirdos who are incredibly selfish sociopaths, But if you go and say like, hey, these are people and they need their needs met, people go, okay, well that makes sense. But go ahead, play it.
Fundamental commitment is to the dignity of ordinary people and to make sure they can live lives of decency. So it's not an ism, no, brother. It's about decency. It's about fairness. It's about the accountability of the powerful vis-a-vis those who have less power. The workplace, women dealing with the household, gays, lesbians, trans, black people, indigenous peoples, immigrants. How do we ensure that they are treated decently and that the powerful don't in any way manipulate, subjugate, and exploit them?
Well, I mean, if that's what democratic socialism is, then I'm basically on board. I do think that ordinary people, middle-class people, ought to have dignity, and I think that our current systems make it hard for them to have dignity.
Now, let's be clear here.
Yeah.
We all know what the real deal is.
Yeah, we all know Tucker Carlson is.
We all know Tucker Carlson played his fake populist on TV, but he's a millionaire who is paid by billionaires, but he mastered Trumpism. And what this clip is important to show, even though it's I think that people say it's like 2 years old or so. It's important to show because this is the argument we had and the argument that we could have made. Because I mean, Rome brought up. Hopefully, it will join us again. But Rome talked about his stories of flipping a ton of people to support Bernie Sanders. And
exactly.
I had stories of me. I talked to a right wing black guy in South Carolina, and I talked to him after a while, and he started supporting Bernie Sanders because this working class language.
Exactly.
It speaks to everybody, no matter what your background is. Like, I can tell the story on that. I have my friend Becky there, so she was a witness. Like Becky, I tell stories about her. She was a Republican that I met when I was in South Carolina, campaigning for Bernie. But she liked Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders, she really liked him. Bernie Sanders eventually flipped her on Medicare for All, and she still is pro-life because her story was she was a Republican. The last time she voted was 2004, and she was kind of like fuck it all, but she loved Bernie. And I talked to her for a while, and I explained kind of what Cornel West is kind of getting to in a way. I explain, and one of my ways I get to Republican voters is I explain my philosophy of libertarian socialism, because you can win a lot of right wingers that way, because it's all about having a small accountable government, but we're taking care of things that we believe that should be on the table. For example, with libertarian socialism, the government has to justify themselves. So when you do something like the drug war does not justify itself. It's a racist system designed to blow up the prison population and has done nothing but harm multiple communities. So it doesn't justify itself. But what does justify itself? Medicare for all. Medicare for all boosts the economy, it boosts jobs, it boosts wages, and it saves 68,000 lives a year. So when I say I'm a libertarian socialist, I say I support free college, I support healthcare for all, because those are programs that actually helps people. Instead of supporting corporate bailouts, those things don't fucking work. Right now, I literally just quoting numbers of how the economy is taking again, and how we're in a war situation. And I made a simple post. I was like, these corporate bailouts obviously didn't work. So my thing is, take these stupid ass policies that don't work, having a bloated military budget, having bloated police budgets. You can sell that in a way that can win right wing audiences. Because I've done it before. I sold cars in Kansas. I've been surrounded with a ton of right wing people that I got to at least agree that I'm coming from a good a place of good faith. But if you go into a conservative and you're an Obama bootlicker, like you have no you have no ground to stand on. Go ahead, Jackie.
That's why I don't agree with the people who the biggest problem I have with liberals. I can't say that because I have so many and they're all the biggest ones. So okay, one of the problems that I have with liberals, that's a better way to say that, is that they automatically it's like team sports. It's very us versus them. And they automatically want to call anyone who has ever voted Republican ever a racist or a sexist. And I'm like, or they believe in small government. And if they believe in small government and you're to the left, you can actually pull them over. It's not that hard.
Exactly. That's why Bernie did well.
But you can't do it if you're calling them stupid and calling them racist and sexist all the time.
You're stupid, racist, sexist. Come vote for me, please.
There's a certain subset of the right that's too far gone, but we don't need them to win. Like that,
and you can't get them, but you can get the rest of them.
Like there's a large amount of independent leaning right wingers, and Bernie was winning significantly with independents. Even with his loss of Biden, they still show that he won independents, and that's because he's getting these people who are gettable. There's the 30%. The Trump fanboy bootlickers, we're not going to win those people over. But there's a very significant portion of the electorate that won Trump the election, the two-time Obama voters that eventually switched to Trump. These are the people that Bernie Sanders did well with, and the ex post proved he did well with. And what we've seen with Cornel West when you're talking to Doug Carlson is a masterclass of how we get that done. And I talked about this before. I believe I talked about it with you guys. Where I said I believe I'm still a big supporter of AOC. But I do believe this was a mistake that AOC had made, because AOC was following the Democratic leadership, and she was following the identity politics talking points a little bit too much. Not to the point where I personally don't get me wrong, I wouldn't personally disagree with her, but I'm saying you got to have strategy if you're in a position of leadership and you want to form this multiracial movement. So what Bernie did, he focused on economic issues. Like you didn't see Bernie get into culture war shit. And AOC, she would get into culture war shit a little bit too much. So AOC, even though she's economically populist, she is not as popular with those independent right-leaning support that she should be, because I think she didn't lean towards that direction, and that's the direction that the left needs to lean towards to win these independents that we need to win. So I think that's a mistake that she made. I think that's the direction that the left need as a whole. And we got to be strategic about how we run, and we can do it in a way without selling out our value. I'm not talking about selling out our value. Like I said, I don't disagree with some of the rhetoric the AOC have, but I'm saying you shouldn't lean into that stuff too much, because we still got to form a multiracial working class movement to win. That's how.
And calling working class white people racist or ignorant isn't going to help that movement at all. You know. Yeah, it's just not helpful. And then like the bigger thing is like the reason like identity politics works so well is because it like engages people on an emotional level. People go, oh, they're talking about black people, or they're talking about Hispanics, or they're talking about gays, lesbians, transgender people. You start going, oh well, they're talking about me, and so you get emotionally charged, you get emotionally involved.
Yeah.
But I think you can get people just as emotionally involved when it is, but you can get people
because when they're talking about blacks and you're not black, now you're saying, oh, they're not talking about me. When they're talking about gays and transgenders and you're straight, oh, well, they're not talking about me.
Exactly.
And this is still a country based or rooted in puritanical ideals.
Yeah.
And a lot of the country, even the liberals who virtue signal, a lot of them still don't believe in all of the social issues, even though they may get on Twitter and yell at you for not doing it, but in their real life, they're like, oh no, I don't know.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Do you see?
Look at how they to the left on social issues as we think it is, which is why you have to lead with the economic issues and the social issues. You can just do that shit under the table when nobody's looking.
You can tell a lot of liberals are conservative
because that's where you can get people. Because let's be real, the reason why the left splits is because of the social issues. Because everybody wants to deal with their own in particular issues the way they want to deal with it. And like, for example, you have a big disconnect because you have some people who their social issue is the LGBTQ issue. You have some people who their social issue is revolved around being black. Their social issue might revolve around being Latino. Their social issue, you see what I mean? And then once you start fracturing and everybody's like, no, this is the social issue I want to deal with. And even when you deal with that, like for example, some people who, like, if your main thing is being black, some people say, well, it has to start with reparations. Some people say, no, we have to start with criminal justice reform. We can't even agree as leftists on social issues. You got to table that shit for now. You can deal with it later. For right now, if you want to actually, I don't know, have a planet to live on, I mean, the planet's going to be here. We're just going to go extinct. If you don't want to go extinct in like 11 years, we need to actually do something. And I'm sorry, but neither Joe Biden or Donald Trump are going to do fuck all to save that. Because I hear you, Donald Trump thinks it's a hoax. Like, we have one guy who's like, oh, it's a hoax, but I don't know if he actually thinks it's a hoax or not. He's just like, look,
he's a talking point. Yeah.
He's like, look, these are my business partners. They don't want regulation, and I'm going to take the regulations away. Bottom line. And then you have another guy who's like, I hear you, I see you, and I'm not doing anything about it. Because I will be long dead before any of this comes to pass. And as a matter of fact, in about 10 minutes, I'm going to forget who I am.
Yeah, Rome, your mic is muted.
Rome, your mic's up. Rome, your mic's off.
Oh, sorry, because my nephew was calling.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can believe what the hell you want, man. Like, a lot of people see the flaws in themselves and don't even do anything about it. And they can say whatever they want, you know what I'm saying, to the people around them, manipulate them, and don't do anything. This is how people have to take these politicians, because they just lie to you on a bigger scale, So, I don't know. You can say what
you made a good point. You made a good point, Jack, because you said that liberals are a little bit more conservative that a lot of people give them credit for. And I see it all the time. I mean, for example, like I despise the Trumps and their entire family. Fuck the entire family. That's how I feel. But look at how they attack. Like, for example, Melania. Like whenever I see liberals go after Melania, they always attack her from like the right in a puritanical way.
Yeah, it's always like, oh, she's a sex worker, she's a prostitute.
Exactly.
She's a fucking whore.
I thought we were supporting sex work out here.
I'm like, whenever I read like their attacks on Melania, I'm like, bro, you guys are social conservatives. Like the thing you're attacking Melania on and shit, that's the best things about her. I'm like, I don't care. I hate Puritan. I hate Puritan and that shit. I'm open about that. So that's you see that with liberals all the time.
That's why we can't use social issues as a platform. It doesn't work. The left can't even. Every time there's an argument on the left, it is almost always on a social issue.
Is that true?
Exactly.
So if we can't even be united on social issues, how the hell are we supposed to bring in people?
I don't know if you guys talking about
their entire stance is a social issue that we don't agree with. So we've got to deal with people where they are and where we can meet in the middle. Like, where is that? Where's the Venn diagram of where we connect?
Yeah.
We connect on economic issues.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, it really is a class struggle. So as long as you remind them, hey, we're the same class.
We just need a mouthpiece to put, just to put it out there for everyone else to say, look, this is us.
Yeah.
We're all, like this. This is what we want. This is our label. But we don't have that right now since Bernie's gone.
Nominate Nina Turner.
Even with Bernie, a lot of us feel left out. Because I feel left out as a sex worker, even working for Bernie. And saying something to people personally inside the campaign, like, hey, do something about sex work. So.
I'd say like the bigger point of why you attack economically, right, is like, or why you approach people economically is, one, it's the bigger Venn diagram, right, and then two, social issues change all the time. What were gay rights issues 10 years ago aren't the same gay rights issues today or 30 years ago. They're constantly social issues are constantly evolving, right? And then for the third point though, I'd also say, like, when your economic interests are met, the social issues don't really have any standing, or they don't matter at all. They don't, like, it's one thing if you're in a it's one thing if you're oppressed and you're marginalized and your community is rotting from the inside, and then a white person calls you a nigger. Like, that's the icing on the cake, right? But if you own your home, you own a business, right? Your healthcare is taken care of. Whatever, all your needs are met, right? And then some white guy's like, "Oh, fuck you, you nigger." You'd be like, whatever. All right, cool. Whatever, you might hit them, but there's no impact behind that. There's no impact behind words when the marginalization is there. When the marginalization isn't there, it's still culturally wrong. You still want to correct it, but it doesn't have the same impact, right?
I mean, if you look at the poll itself shows it, because if you look at what American people view as the most important stuff, it's always the economic issues. Like this election, they was talking about how healthcare is one of the most important things, and that's been a thing since the 90s. Because I remember the original Bill Clinton campaign, they was famous for saying, "Hey guys, it's economic, stupid." Like that's how you win.
Yeah.
Like that was even 20 years ago. They had that phrase. I mean, there wasn't really economic.
That's how
populist.
Barack Obama won. He
populist. Yeah.
His platform was giving us healthcare.
Yeah, he win
that was his
even
platform.
as a black man with a Muslim sounding name, you can win that way. I mean,
if you want, we go get healthcare. Yeah,
it's a fucking man. I do it. You got a lot of people. A lot of people that probably was racist that vote for Obama. Like, fuck it, I'll do it for the healthcare.
Yeah, that's how popular. Yeah, that's how popular material interests are. Is that you can get a black guy with a Muslim sounding name from Hawaii to win an election.
Obama created them radical Trump supporters.
Yeah, exactly.
The ones that voted for Obama.
Yep.
And got played, and it was like, you fucking nigger. I knew not to trust him.
Dude, there's some truth to that, though. I promise you. Like, a lot of people don't understand the amount of damage Obama did by being the disappointment he did. Yeah. He could have permanently turned so many people into permanent. Like, can you imagine if Barack Obama was the guy that we thought he was? Like, if he actually was a Bernie Sanders, he could have permanently had our generation as Democrats forever. He could have had a lot of those white working class factory workers as Democrats forever. But he lost them. Like, these people are lost forever. Like, these are the people that the swing state voter they try and get. Like, people don't understand. Like, you don't see it immediately. But I think the effects of Barack Obama
it was more than that. I haven't voted for a Democrat since him.
Yeah, see,
2016 I voted for Jill Stein, and this year I'm going to vote for Howie Hawkins. So,
Jill Stein, you Russian puppet. You voted for a Russian puppet.
Yes, I did. I did, and you know why? Because I didn't vote lesser of two. Well, no, as Nick was saying earlier, I did vote lesser of the evils, but I chose to not vote for an evil. I chose to actually vote for someone who had her platform was what I was looking for. I was gonna vote for Bernie, but then they kicked him off the ballot. So okay, I don't have a choice to vote for him. I'm not voting for Hillary. I'm still not voting for Republican. So it's either Jill Stein or I stay home.
Yeah, see,
Jill Stein actually had the platform that I was looking for. Because what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to be bullied by people, because here's the thing. I struggled with this back in 2016, because my mom every single time she's like, you better vote because all these people died for you to have the right to vote, and people were tortured and like murdered just so that you could have the right to vote, both as a black person and as a woman. And I thought about that and I was like, you know what, you're right, but they did that so that I could have the option to vote, so that I could vote for whoever I wanted to, not so I could be bullied into voting for an oppressive regime that doesn't give a damn about me, that is going to have policies that actively hurt me and people who look like me.
Let's go.
Miss me with that bullshit that I have to vote for Joe Biden, who created the problems that we are fighting against right now.
Yeah, that's why I brought this together, because it's like, bro, I feel like y'all don't realize who the fuck y'all talking to. Like us as a collective whole,
just snapped.
Our entire generation, like, we got this fuck you attitude that I don't understand why the black boomers didn't have. Like, the black boomers, their generation was all about.
They were just grateful. Shit. They were just thankful to be there, like, bro. They were just thank you for voting. Thank you for letting us.
Thank you for getting us voting right. Yeah. Yes, Amanda. Thank you.
In fairness, let's look at who the black boomers are, though. Okay, the black boomers are the people who watched Malcolm X get murdered. They watched
they was tamed.
Martin Luther King Jr. get murdered. And then when they had a little bit of hope, like, hey, JFK is going to help us, they watched him get murdered. And then they were like, it's okay because his brother's going to come along. And then they watched him get murdered. They had, in order to survive, they had to acquiesce. And they never left that mindset.
Yeah, unfortunately,
they're the people who the FBI, when the FBI was formed and the FBI went after literally every black person who got a phone line, they were those people.
Exactly.
Like, I grew up knowing that, like, the FBI tapped the lines, and we used to make jokes about it. Like, whenever you hear a weird click, you're like, "Oh, that we must be boring."
Yeah. I used to think my dad was crazy.
It must have just been so boring that the FBI signed off. You know?
Yeah.
That's exactly where they came from. Absolutely.
They were essentially beaten into submission, but we weren't, because we are the generation after them that they were like, we want to make sure that you guys don't have that problem. So we didn't. And then the few of us who are educated and who are paying attention are saying, miss me with your bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's the main difference between the boomers and us.
And that's why I won't let them.
I'm not trying to absolve them. I'm just saying, again, let's look at this through a historical lens.
Yeah, you made a good point, Jackie. Yeah. And that's the point I always make to liberals when they always say Joe Biden had this firewall to the black community. And I'm like, no, Joe Biden lost the youth black vote. And that means something, because that means you have an entire generation that's off this plantation. And a lot of people get mad when I use that terminology because the right way you use it. But I'm like, hey, motherfucker, that shit's accurate. You can't get mad at me for using shit that's actually real. They don't use it the right way. They use that as a way to sheep her people to the Republican Party. And the Republican Party got an even larger plantation than the Democratic Party do. Arguably, I mean, it may be similar.
Yeah,
but
it's just white. It's just white people.
So when I use that, I'm not using it the way that Candace Owen used it. I'm literally saying that there's niggas on the plantation, meaning that when we vote for Barack Obama and Joe Biden 2 times, and they tanked our wealth as a result of that. So what do you call that when we have our wealth extracted and you have income inequality get worse? Racial income inequality got worse. White families, they recovered greatly after the recession, while black people, their wealth tanked by 10 times. Our average wealth was around 11,000, 12,000, and by the beginning of Trump term in 2016, it's around like 1,500. So that's like a 10-time dip. So what do you call that other than plantation when our wealth is being extracted from our community, from the people that we vote for? That's a plantation. So don't get mad at me when I say that.
Let's be fair, though. The reason why statistically whites are leveled out is because the white people are the people at the top. Like, they're the 1%. They not only recovered, but they did even better.
They got
the white working class were left in the dark, just like the rest of us.
Yeah, and that's why I say that's why I tell people that capitalism is inherently racist, because this is not the first time this happened. This is a constant.
Capitalism is inherently racist because all current capitalist systems were built on slavery.
Amen.
Yeah.
So I say you can literally go generation by generation. Like, we can talk about the current day right now. Because we still seeing a racial transfer.
Right now, you got
the people who are gaining
the prison pipeline.
Yeah, the people that are gaining wealth right now because of the COVID bailout packages are people like Nancy Pelosi's husband. The people who getting those bailouts are the people on top. Which why you actually point out that the people on top are more likely to be white. So that's how the income inequality gets worse. Because so capitalism is a system that is designed to crash every 10 years, right? So when the system crashes, we implement austerity and we take all the wealth from the lower classes and prop up the wealth of the rich, and it never trickle back down. We just have that permanent gap. Now a lot of people pretend this happened for the first time this time and during the Wall Street bailouts, but a lot of people forget that it happened during the Great Depression as well. And I mean, I would love to have Savion on the podcast because he knows a lot about this history stuff. But this something I looked into, and this something that W.B. Du Bois talked about as well. Because when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed and Black people became free, we started slowly building our wealth despite the institutional disadvantages that we had. We started building businesses. They were getting teared down by the South, but we started slowly building our wealth. But then what happened? The Great Depression happened, and then FDR, he had a lot of great economic policies that got us out of that depression. But the reason why you never hear me prop FDR up, because a lot of the policies that he implemented were designed
exclusionary.
Yeah, it was exclusionary policy. It helped the white families build their wealth up. So once again, I bring this up because it's a cycle. Black people build their wealth up. A crash happens. Then we give all the wealth to the people on top, which will be the white families, and we get nothing in return. We got to start all over. That happened in 2008. And that's why whenever people want to bring up, oh, well, Barack Obama got this economy because of George Bush. Like, bitch, George Bush didn't make Barack Obama bail out Wall Street instead of black homeowners.
Exactly.
Exactly. Bush had nothing to do with that. So it's like these are a continued pattern of policy of why black people never had a chance to build wealth. Because white families built their wealth by the FDR policies that were passed after World War II that we wasn't part of. And that constantly happened. That happened when the Wall Street bailout in 2008, and it's happening right now with the COVID bailouts. Once again, we built wealth again, Reagan, and we lost even more. Go ahead, Jackie.
Don't forget Nixon and Reagan. They realized that, because they wanted to go after the so-called entitlements, and they were like, well, you can't touch that because people won't let you, it's a safety net. And they thought, well, what if we made it racist? What if we made the face of the entitlements black? We just tell the news to only focus every time they talk about it, to talk about it in a negative slant and put a black person face up there. And that is how they were able to cut the entitlements. They didn't eliminate them, but they were able to dip into it by making the face of it black. They basically played on racism.
Exactly.
And at the same time, like when they wanted to start doing privatized prisons, what did they do? They ramped up news coverage of black people black and Latinos committing crimes, so that people are afraid, and now they're willing to support. Oh, they're coming for us.
And they're doing it
just
again.
Like Joe Biden's speech. They're coming for us.
Yes. So, that's why following history is important.
Go ahead and support us doing this crime bill so that we can lock them up, so that we can make money off of them. It's slave labor.
Yes.
You saw this. I was saying, if you look at the stocks for private prisons, the whole industry jumped when they announced Kamala Harris as VP. Yeah. The stock price doubled. So they know they're set.
Well, the same thing happened when the same thing happened with the healthcare industry. I think it was the insurance and the pharma. Both of them, their stocks went through the roof the day Bernie suspended.
Yeah.
Yep.
They were like, "Oh yeah,
we
good. Got us. He's not changing shit."
Woo! That's a great point you brought up with them propping up the prison industrial complex. Because once again, this is why following history is super important. Because I remember a long time ago, I heard the common knowledge that if history repeats itself. And I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, "Man, that sounds like bullshit." I remember I literally thought that. But then you live your life, you grow up, you analyze events, you study history, and you're like, holy shit, this shit is actually repeating itself over and over again. We just talk about the transfer of wealth. You just talk about the prison population again, and how Nixon and Reagan propped that up using racist language and lingo. Now, what's happening in the current time right now? You have the Black Lives Matter protests, and you had the media, like you actually brought up as well, Jackie, how the media will prop up and legitimize right-wing talking points, trying to make it prop up the racist talking points overall. They're doing it right now, believe it or not, because when you see the media constantly prop up the right-wing talking point of their looting, their rioting, their violence at the Black Lives Matter protests. Now, meanwhile, in reality, there was a study that showed that 97% of the Black Lives Matter protests was peaceful. So why didn't we see that? that was done on purpose because they wanted to demonize the protesters. So when Joe Biden, he literally just said in one of his speeches, he like, yeah, we gotta condemn the looters, we gotta condemn the rioters, and they gotta pay, we gotta lock them up. He literally said this. So he literally feeding into the talking point. He giving himself an excuse to use DHS to go after rioters and protesters. This shit is not an accident. So once again, you literally
also said that Breonna Taylor should have been charged with a crime. So I mean, he's
so it's like, person. Bro, like, so Joe Biden is literally competing against Trump with when it comes to tough on crime, law and order. They're competing with law and order.
He's not even competing. He won.
What you about to say, Ron? I don't know. What you about to say, Ron? I interrupted you. What you about to say, bro?
Shit. I ain't say shit, but
I thought he was. I don't know. I'm
listening to Jackie. Though. I'm just agreeing with her.
Yeah, it's all good.
I have one more thing to say about this because it always puzzled me because at this point, like you said, history repeats itself, right? Okay, so if you know, I am not a historian. I'm not Savion. I just took basic social studies, and I just remember like a couple things here and there. Watch the History Channel back when it was actually like the History Channel and not whatever the fuck it is now. But
Pawn Stars? Yeah, it's just Pawn Stars now.
Yeah, apparently. I'm from the generation where MTV meant music television. I don't know what this like reality TV now, but whatever.
I watch TV.
So, but when you talk about history repeating itself, okay, shouldn't the ruling class, because they are better at education than we are, right? Because they have the best education, literally, because property taxes pay for education in order to keep the poor stupid. So they have the best education. They know better than us history. Yes? Okay, so if that's the case, shouldn't they be doing the most they can? Considering if you look back at history and when wealth inequality is the way it is right now, it always ends bloody. It's always a revolution, whether it's Russia, whether it's France. It doesn't matter.
Levels right now.
So that's exactly what I'm saying. Like we're literally at, like Rome was saying. What Rome started out saying earlier. They're taking away our nonviolent options. And that's my point. Like, I don't understand why rich people aren't coming out and saying, like, Jeff Bezos is sitting here, he's about to become a trillionaire. And if I were him, I'd be like, yo, I'm gonna give everybody a raise. You're all making $75,000 a year. Homie, don't come for me. I'm on your side. Okay.
That's why they don't want to defund the police.
That's exactly why I always speak on killing politicians. Like, I gotta say those words because those are powerful words.
They are.
They're powerful words, and it may get me in trouble, but guess what? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. And I'll let my face be known. You know what I'm saying? I'll even at you on Twitter and let you know, hey, if I catch you, I'm going to punch you.
Well, because here's the truth that people don't want to talk about. Poverty is violence. When you are reacting against poverty, you're defending yourself.
That's why they don't want to defund the police because they know that, like, once again, Jackie, as you mentioned, they know history. They know there's going to be a point where the working class won't be able to take enough of that shit. So they don't want to defund the police because they want to keep us under control. They want to use that government violence against us. Go ahead, Ron.
It's not enough people. Sorry about that. It's not enough people speaking up. About, really revolutionary cause. I mean, we got answers to these questions, and but man, we really have to play hardball. What the fuck, man? Stop playing pancake with these people, man.
It's gonna happen.
I think it's gonna get anywhere.
I think the problem is just like the examples Jackie speaks of. We talk about the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, right? It's like you look at where they were socially and where they were culturally, and we're just like in such a different place, right? Like this is the problem of modern conveniences, right? is like when you can, like every country is 9 meals away from a revolution at any point in time, but when you have things like credit cards that people can rely on, right? When you have things like social media and TV and entertainment that people can engage in, right? If you're a poor Russian in 1917, you don't got shit to do but try and not be a poor Russian. You know what I'm saying? If you're but if you're a poor, dude living in, Michigan or, South Carolina or wherever, at least you can watch LeBron, like at least you can check Facebook. At least you can get.
Speaking of LeBron,
that's a good point.
Why LeBron is even up there, because he was going to sit his black ass out and be like, you know what? I'm a black male too. Fuck this. Y'all got to change. And Obama was like,
nah.
That's why it was important for Obama to tame his ass. And that's why it was important for Obama to tame him. And that's why Democrats use these celebrities, and that's why they prop up and they trying to fuse political service with pop culture. Yeah. They want us to treat their politicians like celebrities. Honestly, they want that to be a thing.
I feel like we are one major event away from a full-on. I don't want to say civil war, but like class war where people finally had enough.
I think we're getting close because Nick made a good point that because we're in a modern society, it's making it harder for people to organize and get together and get really pissed off. But I think if you look at what's going on with COVID right now, and you see the amount of people that are being left behind, like when I read stats like 54 million Americans not going to have enough food to eat this year. When I read stats like 30 million Americans may be homeless by the end of the year. When I hear all these stories about people wealth tanking, losing their savings, going sick, getting all these COVID bills, I'm like, man, I think people underestimate how quickly shit can turn. Like once all we need right now is not, despite I think it should be bad enough right now, but it's not. Unfortunately, it's not bad enough. But what will it look like in 3 months when we have millions of more people homeless, when we have millions of more people have that hunger pain in their stomach? Yeah. Like what will happen then? What will happen at that point next year if there's not enough COVID bailout relief? Like, cause they're not gonna do enough bill, it seems like. So what's gonna look like next year? We never know. Like if they get their shit together and they start taking care of people, they may be able to slow it down. But bro, I don't know what next year is gonna look like. I honestly don't.
Honestly, it might not even take as far as next year, because remember, scientists told us at the beginning of this year there's gonna be a second wave of COVID around November.
Yeah.
So all that has to happen, like the powder keg, could be round 2.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, right? And like this is the thing that kind of scares me, just because I know how it's going to react, right? Is because like you would think that the idea that we would have like this coalescing movement around overthrowing the governments, like the people would come together. You guys haven't done enough for us, right? But instead, what we're seeing this sort of like this we've now, what the media is creating is this sort of like again, we go back to the culture war. You have like the BLM, Antifa versus the Trump supporters who are now going in the streets and shooting people, right? And so now what you have, instead of like one working class pushing against the government, you now have a working class pushing against the government, and then an army full of bootlickers to fight that working class. They're now inspired because they think that people are going to try and overrun the suburbs or whatever the fuck they think, or burn down a Target or whatever. Like that's, and so that's kind of like this. Yeah,
I think those people only going to be as strong as until that dam breaks. Right now, they're strong because we mentioned before they're at 30%. Like it's like no matter what we fucking do, they're going to be diehard Republican. They're going to be diehard Trump. But what happens when we have, and even if you look at that 30%, there's a fraction. I don't know exactly what that number is. There's a fraction of that number that are the Proud Boys, that the people that go out and want to commit violence. And I'm not disagreeing with you, Nick. I think you raise a good point. But I think when we win is when the number of people who feel like rioting becomes significantly more than that Proud Boy number. Right now, unfortunately, it's not enough. Like even with our protests right now, we got more than they have, but it's not enough. Eventually, we need to be. I don't know what number what need to be. 10-1, 20-1. Like eventually, and then we need to get those people over. Go ahead, Ron.
I'm sorry to cut you off, man, but
go ahead, brother.
The problem with that, we need to make sure that the working class know who we are targeting. We need a good message.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because a lot of these people think that oh, we're paid by George Soros or.
I ain't get my Soros check this month.
If we just go after everybody, nigga, hold on. This little nigga's here for my niece. They ain't know who the fuck I am.
Oh, you gotta go fuck somebody up?
I'm about to say, we about to see someone fuck you up live.
So yeah, somebody about to get fucked up. Don't.
This is why we had to have Rome on.
This one, Roman keep it. He said, "Hey, I don't know none of y'all niggas. Fuck yeah." But yeah, but go and finish up, Rome. Hey Nick, we had 2 hours now anyway. But so
yeah, we got to finish up here.
Finish up, Rome.
And we need to make sure that we target the right place. Well, no pun intended. We need to make sure we target the right places. Like even if us four was out rioting, it makes no difference. If we riot in our own neighborhood or even around our own areas, man, we need to focus on not just rich areas, political areas, because they all stay in one bubble. They all stay in the same types of areas, celebrities, whatever. These are the places that we need to go. These are the people that we need to, be waking them up, because they just looking on the news of what's happening. Even though they are the people that caused these things, they didn't let police officers off, but they don't feel it, because we are protesting outside the police officer house instead of the judge's houses or the prosecutors. That's the thing. The working class will come together. Even racists and Black Panthers to come together, and we were just like, you know what? Like both of these, look, they trying to keep both of us down. You just saw
exactly.
Right? Look what happened. All right, you know what I'm saying? And once we go after people like George Soros and Mike Bloomberg, all these people that they paying us, then what? What they gonna say? Then we're gonna be like, look, now listen to us now. You know what I'm saying? This is the time to listen. Hey, they all fucking us up. Let's keep it real. And we'll all do it together.
Yep. So anyway, I think we had 2 hours now, so we're gonna meet next week, and we don't have Monica on. I think she'll be here next week or maybe the week after that. She said she couldn't make it today, but she's gonna join us very soon. Savion had a commitment today, so he'll probably be back next week. But I was talking to Jackie before. If you guys think anyone you want to bring on for free, bring them on, because this is an avenue for Black leftists to come on here, and we're here to defend ourselves, because for too long I think white progressives have been defending and speak on behalf of our community, but we gotta let people know we out here and we can speak on ourselves. So I do my other shows with other people, but the reason why I wanted Black leftists on the show, we can speak on ourselves. We appreciate you, the allies. We appreciate you guys. Because I remember I had someone, they asked me, they're like, "What? Why only got to be Black leftists?" I'm like, straight up, we need to speak for ourselves. We appreciate you guys sticking up for us, but we want you guys to hear from our own mouth. So I appreciate everyone for going on. We about to go. We are signing off now. Check out next week. We'll probably have Savion and Monty back on, and as